All right, welcome back. So, in part one, we really dug into the core problem how our own thinking is pretty much the source of all our suffering. But now we're making a big shift. We're moving from just diagnosing the problem to actually finding the cure. Let's dive into the powerful solution Joseph Nguyen offers for finding that genuine, lasting inner freedom. And this quote right here from philosopher Sydney Banks, it's the key to everything that's about to follow. See, the goal isn't to somehow wrestle our thoughts into submission or change what happens to us. It's about fundamentally changing our relationship with our own experience. It's about learning not to be so afraid of it. Okay, so these are the big, practical questions, right? This is probably what you're wondering. If we let go of all that obsessive thinking that drives us, what happens to our ambition? Are we just supposed to become passive observers in our own lives? Well, the book's answers to this are absolutely fascinating, and it all starts with understanding the hidden engine that's running our reality. So, Chapter 6 takes a deep dive into what the author calls the hidden mechanics of reality. The idea here is that before we can really find peace, we need to get a handle on three fundamental forces that are invisibly shaping every single moment of our lives. They're known as the three principles. So, the first principle is the universal mind. You can think of this as the formless intelligence behind, well, everything. It's the force that knows how an acorn turns into a giant oak tree, or how our bodies heal a cut without us having to think about it. It's the energy that connects everything, and it's the source where all new thoughts and inspiration bubble up from. Next up, we've got universal consciousness. Now, this is simply the power of awareness itself. I mean, without it, our five senses would just be collecting data with no one home to actually experience it. Consciousness is what brings the world and our own thoughts to life, making it all feel real to us. And the final piece of this puzzle is universal thought. This is the power that takes that formless energy of the universal mind and actually gives it shape. It's the tool we use to sculpt our specific ideas, our perceptions, and the entire story of our reality. You could say it's the raw material of every experience we ever have. Now, I know these ideas can feel a little abstract, so the author uses a fantastic analogy to tie it all together. Think of it like this. The universal mind is the electricity, that invisible energy that's powering the whole system. Consciousness is the TV and the DVD player. It's the hardware that makes the experience possible. And thought? Well, that's the specific movie on the DVD. It's the content that creates the actual movie of your life. You need all three for the show to go on. So this brings us to the most important question in the entire book. If our thinking is the problem, how on earth do we stop it? Chapter 7 gives us an answer that is so profound, but also surprisingly simple. And believe me, it has nothing to do with force or control. This quote just frames the issue perfectly, doesn't it? When our mind is like a crowded, noisy room full of worry and analysis, there's just no space left for peace. So the solution isn't to try and fight the noise, but to just create a little bit of space. The author uses this simple but brilliant analogy. Imagine you've got a bowl of water, and it's completely murky because you've just stirred up all the dirt at the bottom. How would you make that water clear again? Just think about it for a second. The answer, of course, is you do nothing. You just leave it alone. The dirt settles all by itself, and the water becomes crystal clear. Our minds work the exact same way. Our natural state is clarity. We don't have to create it. We just have to stop disturbing it. And this realization leads to a whole new way of relating to our own minds. We start to see that clarity is our default setting. Stress and confusion, that's not who we are. They're just signposts, like a little alarm bell telling us, hey, you're lost in your thinking again. Trying to fight those thoughts is like struggling in quicksand. The more you fight, the deeper you sink. The real key is to remember that our inner peace is like the sun. It's always there, even when the clouds of our thinking temporarily block the view. Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road. Chapters 8 and 9 are all about bridging that gap between inner peace and actually achieving things in the real world. They tackle those practical questions we asked at the beginning. How does a quiet mind actually function when it comes to performance, goals, and ambition? I want you to think about a time you were completely in the zone. Maybe you were playing a sport, creating art, solving a tough problem at work, just totally absorbed. In that state of peak performance, what were you actively thinking about? The answer, almost every single time, is absolutely nothing. You know, this state of no mind actually has a name. In Japanese Zen traditions, it's called mushin. It's a mind that's free from all the clutter of fear, anger, and ego. It's that state where elite athletes and artists do their best work, reacting with pure, trained intuition. And this just proves that peak performance doesn't come from more thinking, it comes from a profound lack of it.
So, how does this apply to our goals? Well, the book makes a really crucial distinction here. Goals can come from two completely different places. First, you've got goals that come from desperation. These are born from a sense of lack, that feeling that we have to achieve something just to be okay. They feel heavy, like a burden. And then you've got goals from inspiration. These come from a place of wholeness and abundance. They feel light, energizing, and we chase them for the pure joy of the process itself.
This table really breaks it down, doesn't it? Just look at the difference in feeling. Desperation is heavy and draining. Inspiration is light and energizing. The motivation completely shifts from I have to do this to I get to do this. One comes from a place of scarcity, trying to fill some kind of hole inside you. The other comes from wholeness, just overflowing into creation. Just understanding which one is driving you can change everything. Chapter 10 takes this whole idea of creating from abundance and pushes it to its ultimate conclusion. It explores how we can connect what we do to the most powerful, pure energy there is, unconditional love. The author shares this really powerful personal story. He used to constantly ask his girlfriend why she loved him, and her answer was always, I don't know, I just do. He, on the other hand, had this long list of reasons why he loved her. And then it just hit him. Her love was unconditional. If she had a list of reasons, it would mean her love was conditional. It would depend on him continuing to meet those reasons. True love isn't a transaction, it just is.
And this same exact principle applies to how we create things in our life. Most of us live in a state of conditional creation. We work to get money, we post on social media to get likes, we act a certain way to get approval. It's always a means to an end. But unconditional creation is totally different. It's doing something for its own sake, painting for the love of painting, building a business for the joy of building it. It flows from a sense of wholeness, not from a sense of need.
Finally, chapters 11 and 12 bring all these incredible ideas home. They give us a new lens to see our daily lives through and some really practical advice for what to do after you get a taste of this inner peace.
The book uses this beautiful analogy to really drive the point home. A piano has 88 keys, right? And none of them are inherently wrong. A note only sounds wrong based on the melody our thinking has decided we should be playing. Life is exactly like this. In reality, there are no wrong turns or bad outcomes. There's only our thinking that slaps those labels on them. Freedom comes when we stop judging the notes and just learn to play.
So what happens when you start to feel this peace more often? Well, first, just expect your ego to put up a fight. Old worries will pop up out of nowhere. That's completely normal. The key is to take all that mental energy you've freed up from constant worrying and consciously channel it toward those goals of inspiration we talked about. And finally, creating a simple morning routine, the author calls it an activation ritual, can set a positive trajectory for your entire day. And so we're left with the book's final profound challenge. What would change in your life if you could just let go of that constant, exhausting judgment of right and wrong, good and bad? What if instead you just focused only on what is universally true? According to the author, that shift in perspective isn't just a nice idea. It is the path to true and lasting inner freedom.